Hello and welcome to another Frontline Members Q&A. Now, I'm Philip Ingram. I present Frontline, but I'm also a former senior military intelligence officer and commentator on all matters geopolitics, defence, security, counter-terrorism, and anything else that people ask me to do, or better still, pay me to do. Doesn't money make the world go round? And that's probably in some of your comments down here. It will be in the recap. Putin's money makes his world go round. Aren't we all there? But let's get straight into your comments this week. First one comes from Marty. Hello again, Marty. And you say, I wonder how long North Koreans can keep supplying Russia with the low quality shells. I guess by their stock of 1970s, 80s stuff is shipped to Russia. Marty, I think, is how long's a piece of string. North Korea's got huge stocks of shells. And yes, their 70s and 80s stuff will be going. But they're also increasing their manufacturing output enormously. And they're getting more money in from Russia for doing that. So this is playing well into North Korea's economy and Kim Jong-un's ability to fund his lifestyle. It doesn't mean the quality is getting any better. And believe me, I wouldn't want to stand by an artillery piece as someone pulls the lanyard to let a 122mm shell go off or anything else, especially one that had been made in North Korea. Next point comes from Marius. And Marius, you say, once the US is finalising its own chip fabrication plants, Taiwan becomes irrelevant. What Europe is doing for its own interest and technological independence. What is Europe doing for its own interest and technological independence? Marius, it's a fair point, but the US has been building its chip manufacturing capability in Arizona, a state I know very well indeed, for quite some time. It's still not quite there, and it's building it with its individuals and scientists and engineers from Taiwan. It will take quite some time before it gets up to the volume that Taiwan is producing. Taiwan's producing, I think, over 80% of the world's chips. And the United States is still way off, and way off means years off being able to do that. Europe, you're right, isn't building up the same sort of capability, but it's got some very specialist capabilities, and particularly the UK, very specialist chip capabilities, especially when that comes to AI and supporting into potentially quantum computing and all the rest of it. So it's important that there is something that stops our reliance on chips coming out of Taiwan to give that robustness, but we're still some time off it becoming irrelevant. And Xi Jinping knows this, and he will know when the tipping point is for where he lose the advantage of going in and taking Taiwan from a military perspective. That will not be lost on him. Next point from Lars. Lars, you said, I think Greenland is the best thing that's happened to Ukraine in 4 years, maybe even 12 years. Europe's politicians seem to awaken to a new world order. Lars, I think you're partially right. I think it's yet another rocket up the proverbial for European leaders to say they need to start taking defence and wider defence much more seriously, and to start spending even more. I wish the UK was listening to what Europe is doing at the minute, because we're not learning that lesson as quickly as many other European nations. And Greenland, as you will have seen in many of the interviews, I've talked to some very senior people, very senior Americans, and they don't know what Trump's logic is behind Greenland. Because, of course, the 1951 Greenland Defence Treaty allows the United States to put as many troops, as much military capability on Greenland without reference or further permission from Denmark or the people of Greenland at any time that they want. It seems Donald Trump is just going for the real estate approach of ownership rather than invest. That's not how world order works. But yeah, interesting point. Next point from Marty again. And you're saying losing Venezuela as an oil mixing partner surely hit Russia. Soon losing Iran as that regime crumbles will be worse. You hope. By now Russia built its own Shahad variant to the Garand 2, but from what it still uses parts to get from Iran. Marty, you're right, yes. Losing the Venezuela oil mixing partner, because the Venezuelan oil is very thick. It needs to be mixed with other oils to hit the right optimum prices and for refining around the world. And Russia is, as comes out in the interview with Bill Browder this week, Russia is losing its international partners, and that is something that's having an impact on it. And whilst Russia is building its own Shahad variant, it does still rely on components from Iran, or did still rely on components from Iran. So we'll see how that impacts Russia's ability to continue to attack Ukraine. Next from AJ. AJ, did UK just send one troop to support Greenland? Is that true? Yes, AJ. the UK did send one officer to Greenland. However, it's a very, very small exercise. Most countries are only sending a few people. It's a planning exercise. It's just looking at things. That's the sort of thing that happens. So it's not a political point. I wouldn't take too much on it. It's someone providing the right level of advice. And then finally, a point from Walter. Walter, you say, I doubt that NATO is at risk. What Trump did in Venezuela with the tankers is actually smart, and Trump makes a good point in Greenland. Call me crazy, but yeah, I agree with Trump said over Greenland about national security terms. Walter, you're right from a national security perspective and a geographic perspective where Greenland is, not about the ownership of Greenland. And that's where Trump is getting it wrong. Trump, as I said before, can put as much military capability into Greenland as he wants today under the 1951 Defence of Greenland Treaty that he has with Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, and with the people of Greenland. So this ownership over the land is a bit that is causing real consternation and plays into Putin's hands. But we'll watch this closely. So thanks for watching. Sign up for membership to get your questions read and access to exclusive content.